As the 1970s dawned, the spiritual seeds planted in Paris began to bloom across the entire continent. In October 1970, the growing European family gathered in Essen, Germany, for Children's Day. It was a deeply emotional homecoming as the newly 777 blessed couples shared their testimonies from Korea and Japan, bringing the global heart of the movement back to European soil. Fueled by this spiritual fire, the mission in France began to expand beyond the capital. On December 7, 1970, Thérèse Lebreton moved south to pioneer a center in Lyon, France's second-largest city. Just 2 months later, in February 1971, Henri Blanchard headed north to establish a foundation in Lille. Meanwhile, the heart of the mission in Paris continued to beat stronger. By the spring of 1971, the community opened a new, larger center on the Rue des Plantes, providing a more permanent home for the growing number of members and guests. By the dawn of 1972, the seeds of expansion and multiplication from previous years began to bear significant fruit. On January 1, 1972, 40 dedicated members gathered to celebrate True God's Day. At that time, the heartbeat of the movement was witnessing and teaching. Every member was fully engaged in sharing the principle, fueled by the vision of the founders, Sun Myung Moon and Hak Jae Han, establishing God's kingdom on earth, with France as one of its key nations. The true reward for these efforts came in the spring of 1972 when the European movement gathered again in Essen, Germany, where Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon formed the first European mobile team of 60 pioneers. The Providence then moved to Paris, where the entire French movement, now 55 members, welcomed O Father and Mother Moon. They arrived with a distinguished escort, including Colonel Bo Hai Pak, Mrs. Won Pok Choi, Mr. Hideo Yamada, and Mr. Ishii. During this visit, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon delivered a profound and famous speech on the change of blood lineage, a teaching that would later be preserved in the book God's Will and the World. This visit grounded the French members in the deepest core of the Providence. They were no longer just followers of a new philosophy, but pioneers of a new lineage, prepared for the journey of tears that was soon to intensify. Shortly after, the movement took a bold step into the public sphere by placing an advertisement in the prestigious national daily, Le Monde. We launched an international essay contest with a provocative question that challenged centuries of tradition: was Jesus Christ the will of God or the mistake of men? We were no longer hiding our light, we were inviting the French intelligentsia to engage with the divine principle. In August 1972, we opened our first seminar center in Aulnay-sous-Bois, a northern outskirt of Paris, thanks to a pioneer family's generosity. This allowed the community to host its first large-scale educational event, a 7-day Divine Principles seminar, attended by 70 members. The deep study of the principle replaced the noise of the city, forging a unified heart among the growing French family. This educational foundation acted as a springboard for national expansion. Following the success in Aulnay-sous-Bois, the movement's presence solidified across the hexagon. New centers were established not only in the heart of Paris but also in the northern hub of Lille, the historic silk capital of Lyon, and in the Atlantic gateway of Bordeaux. By the end of 1972, the mission was no longer a small Parisian circle, it had become a truly national movement with roots stretching to the major corners of France. On December 18, 1972, the Little Angels Children's Folk Ballet of Korea, founded by Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, took the stage at the Olympia, Paris's most legendary concert hall. It was a true triumph, enchanting the audience and the press alike. The year 1973 opened with a powerful display of growth. On January 1, 120 members gathered to celebrate True God's Day, a tripling of the community size in just over a year. However, this was not a time for staying comfortable. 1973 was a year of mobilization. France became a true mother nation, sending 100 members to support the global Providence in America. In April 1973, 3 pioneers were sent abroad: Alban to Morocco, Jack Corley to Monaco, and Danielle Levesh to Andorra. Whether crossing the Atlantic or the Mediterranean, the French family was now fully engaged in the glory of the world mission, sacrificing local numbers to answer the global call. Henri Blanchard and Jean Penhard also traveled to the Belvedere estate in New York in February to take part in the historic first 100-day training, preparing to serve as the backbone of the international mission. By 1974, the movement had 170 members across 10 cities. This growth was fueled by simple sacrifices, such as artists hand-painting 1,200 greeting cards daily for fundraising. In July, the next generation of French leadership took flight as 40 members were sent to Barrowtown, New York, for the International Leadership Seminar. While members were in America, the eyes of Europe turned toward France. In August, 150 members from across the continent gathered at the Hôtel Bois des Roches in Saint-Michel-sur-Orge, near Paris, for a European conference chaired by Mr. and Mrs. Verheyen from the Netherlands. This gathering launched a 40-day prayer condition specifically for the success of the historic Madison Square Garden rally in New York. From November 13 to 18, a delegation of 13 Korean elders arrived in France, accompanying the eldest son of our founders. Among them were the movement's most legendary figures, Reverend Won Pil Kim, President Young Wai Kim, and Reverend Chung Hwan Kwok. As the year closed, France also welcomed Dr. Sang Hun Lee, the author of Unification Thought. From February 2 to 4, 1974, 300 members, from 29 countries, gathered at Rowland Farmhouse in the UK for a historic European conference. Living simply in tents, they welcomed Father Moon as he arrived directly from meeting US President Richard Nixon in Washington. Amidst the Watergate scandal, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon called for a bold public stand, and members mobilized for a Forgive, Love, Unite parade through London and a prayerful demonstration outside the American Embassy, expressing a spiritual call for national unity beyond political turmoil. During his 3 profound speeches, Father Moon exhorted the members to practice the winning strategy of true love. He revealed his global vision, warning against the threat of communism and emphasizing the need to establish nations for God. To comfort a disillusioned world, he taught that members must be ready to experience the worst kind of sorrow through total selflessness, departing with the final comforting words, "I trust you, I love you, and know that you will never let God down." The year 1975 opened with a powerful testament to how far the movement had traveled in just 9 years. On January 1, 210 French members gathered at the Grand Amphitheatre of the L'École Centrales for True God's Day. The movement had evolved from a lone pioneer cleaning offices to a vibrant community standing at the heart of French academic and social life. In the afternoon, the doors were opened wide to over 600 guests, friends, and families for a festive program of culture and entertainment. It was a day of pure glory. However, visibility also brought opposition. In January 1975, the newspaper Ouest France coined the term Secte Moon, sparking a decades-long media campaign and the emergence of the anti-cult group ADFI. Misunderstanding and misrepresentation became the new details of our mission. In January 1975, the mission's survival took a mobile form as the first official fundraising team, led by Dominique Dideux, set out in 2 Volkswagen minibuses. These 16 pioneers became the financial lifeblood of the growing church, traveling across the country to support the vision. Yet even as the storm gathered, the glory continued to manifest. On February 8, 1975, 12 French members traveled to Korea to join the historic 1,800 couples blessing, standing alongside brothers and sisters from 10 different nationalities. In an effort to bridge the gap with those who opposed us, we opened our doors. On February 22, 1975, we organized a meeting for parents at the Aulnay-sous-Bois Training Center, seeking to share the truth of our lives and our work directly with the families of our members. To counter the shadows, we launched our national magazine, Le Nouvel Espoir, The New Hope, which offered professional printed witness to our values and our vision for a world of peace. As the autumn leaves began to fall in 1975, France once again became the spiritual heart of Europe. From October 12 to 14, the founders, Sun Myung Moon and Hak Jae Han, came to Paris, accompanied by a distinguished delegation including Mrs. Won Pok Choi, Mr. David Kim, and Mr. Young Wai Kim. The center of this visit was our new Dvorkresen training center, where the atmosphere felt like a grand family reunion. So many members traveled from Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg that a large tent had to be erected in the garden for the overflow of visitors. Under that tent, representing the diversity and strength of the European mission, over 400 brothers and sisters sat in rapt attention to listen to Father Moon's deep internal guidance. For 3 days, he spoke on the core of our mission, teaching on how we should restore what Jesus left unfulfilled and exploring the profound mysteries of God's creation. In a year of media attacks, these days provided a renewed spiritual foundation and a moment of pure glory, where the noise of the outside world was replaced by a shared vision of restoring the nation and the world.